Uconn's basketball. Here's your host, Mike Spino.
Let's get pumped up. It's time for Uconn basketball, and we have Dan Hurley, the head coach, with us in studio. We're here at the Dunkin Music Lounge at iHeart headquarters. It's hard to keep the crowd down when you show up, I've noticed. This year especially. We're going to talk about this year. We're going to talk about last year a little bit. We have Dan Hurley for the hour with us. We've got a live studio audience. We'll get a few questions from them. We'll have some, giveaways and things like that between the commercial breaks. So everybody, hang tough. We're going to talk to Coach Hurley about everything. Big East, NCAA. Bob Knight just passed away, so that was a real loss for the coaching fraternity. Let's start though, Coach, back where you were last year in the spring. In Houston, confetti pouring down. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your life? Anything?
I mean, just a wedding day.
Yeah, but there wasn't that much confetti, was there?
What's that?
There wasn't that much confetti, was there?
Just the feeling of elation.
Yeah, right. Andrea, wherever you are, see,
I don't know if she's listening, but it'll get back to her.
Oh, so. It will. By the way, she was a pretty good co-star down there in Houston. She took on everything, and anybody who didn't respect Uconn basketball, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was just that whole the relief from winning the Iona game. I think like every win after that, just it just kept feeling better and better. And then that was the most nervous I probably was for any game the whole season. Was the San Diego State game, because like we knew we had the best team. We had blown through the tournament, and the pressure to like not lose that game, because that would have sucked if we would have lost that national championship game after dominating the tournament like that. Yeah,
and usually you talk to coaches who've been through that tournament many times. There's always one game. I think P.J. Carlesimo said this to me in a pregame interview one day. He said, there's always one game. It can knock you off the railings, and it could be over for you. Maybe you don't play well. Maybe the other team has a super game. That didn't happen, except when San Diego State got within 5 late in that game. I'm calling the game, obviously, so I can't think too much, but I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, 5 points. I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, we went into those games really for a majority of the year. We were like one of the best offenses in the country, and then we were the best offensive rebounding team in the country. And we made threes, like we could post you up, and then our defense was elite, and and we were a great rebounding team, and we got a great culture, and we had great leadership. We were just efficient everywhere. So we went into those games just knowing that we were going to control how the game was going to go. And the preparation is great. I got a great coaching staff. So everything just felt really automatic at that time of year.
And that's hard to say, because you've been doing this for a bunch of years now. There's really no automatics, right?
Sometimes your team, I've had teams that weren't as good offensively, didn't have maybe the shooting or different components, or maybe the design wasn't great. It's a lot more stressful when you suck on offense.
Yeah.
I can't say.
But that's been the trademark of your teams. I mean, going back, I know Wagner was this and that, but Rhodey, I mean, when you guys were good, you were lighting it up and running up and down the court. It was exciting basketball. Now you're doing that here at Uconn. So when you go out and look for players to play for your teams, are you looking for those kind of guys? And how hard is it to find people who can play like that?
It was the New Mexico State game, like losing that game, and then how we lost big games that year. Just offensively, we didn't have enough shooting. It's like we hadn't really adapted all the way to the modern game at the offensive end. Our culture was airtight. Our guys played elite defense. We play together at a high level. Like you could tell when you watch us play. You watch how our bench reacts. Like we're very connected and cult-like more than we're team-like. We all think the same. We all talk the same. We're completely dialed into each other. But for me as a head coach to become an elite head coach, I had to look myself in the mirror and change some things offensively that we were doing. personnel-wise and the scheme that we were running. And we worked, so hard on that, and it definitely paid dividends.
Dan Hurley with us, Uconn head basketball coach, national champ Mike Crispino with him. I remember you said something a year ago in the locker room, not for publication, not for broadcast at the time, but you said, we got to get into the portal. We got to find some grown-up guys because we're playing against guys that are grown-ups in their mid-20s, some of them, and it's hard to compete against that kind of physicality, and you were able to do that last year in putting your roster together.
Yeah, it's just we knew we had Adama and Jordan and Andre, and that they were all entering close to their prime together. Jordan flashed his freshman year. Andre, it was just such an incredible, unique player, and then Adama, they were all in their prime. We knew we had Donovan, we knew we had Alex. But yeah, I just felt with where we were at as a program, if we were going to become second weekend Final Four national championship caliber, we needed to go in the portal, like literally as quickly as we can after we got back from Buffalo. And we knew we needed shooting. I think it was more, even less so about bringing in veterans, but just shooting, guys that could process the game on offense. And then the type of personalities that when March hits, they're not going to shrink when the lights get bright. Like Joey California, he had a lot of swag, and Naheem, he made big shots at Virginia Tech when he played there. So, and we knew we were our first round game was going to be the most pressure-packed game of any of our coaching lives or playing. There was nothing that touched the pressure going into that Iona game. Yeah,
losing twice in the first round, you mentioned it a number of times. That hurts. I know you were in pain there, and until you get over the hump, and then you got Rick Pitino, who's got Iona going, and then they get the lead at halftime. They played well in that first half, but what happened at halftime there? Because you obviously had to get in there and say, fellas, it ain't happening again here today.
Yeah, for you guys too. I don't. I take responsibility for the bubble Maryland game loss, but not as much as the New Mexico State. You were there for that. That was crazy, that bubble. I know it's low accountability. Everyone's so quiet.
They stopped laughing. I don't know why they stopped laughing.
Epic night.
They don't know what you're going to say next.
No, that kid, to me, there were two different situations. That year was tough, and some teams didn't handle the bubble, and Book was never really got back to full strength with the elbow. But that New Mexico State thing, if there's a game you think about more over, there probably wasn't a day that went by that we didn't think about that loss. And me and Kamani just started talking even last summer about what the pressure going into that first game was going to feel like. Start mentally preparing for that. And then we, I thought it was a great draw though. They played fast, they pressed, the court was going to be open. It was, you don't want to play teams that play slow tempo, real disciplined system, matchup zone. The first half, the way they were playing, was just not a sustainable thing, and we were playing very well. So I thought we would have scored 100. We would have scored 100 a couple times, but we blew everybody out. So.
Well, then you had to face St. Mary's. We're going to go to commercial break. We're going to get back and talk a little bit about that. You played some good teams. Come on. Miami, they were the hottest team in that tournament, I thought. And Gonzaga, their history, phenomenal history. And Arkansas, they're on the rise, right? The last couple of years, all that. Coming up, we'll continue with Dan Hurley as we bring you the Uconn men's basketball coaches show here in Learfield.